It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
But now let's give you the kind of stuff that you can pay attention to, like I said, to figure out where we are in this, if we are in a recession, where we are potentially in the process as you're working through this. And here's the things that we think you ought to keep an eye on. Let's first talk about some of the anecdotal stuff. This is the stuff, I've told this, I've used this on client calls. My most recent, in the last 2 weeks, driving to work, I've seen 2 RVs for sale.
Yep.
I've seen some. I haven't seen a boat for sale like on the side of the road yet, but I've seen some anecdotal people who've told me they were thinking about getting a boat or who bought a boat. Be like, I've got to figure out how I can unload this thing in the near term because I just don't know if this is going to age well. Pay attention to a few of these things.
Yeah, if you look at RV shipment, if we're trying to figure out how is this recession different or similar to ones we've seen prior, RV shipments dropped 50% from 2006, pre-Great Recession, to 2009. That makes a lot of sense because people have less discretionary income in the downturn, so you start to see people buying less excessive things like recreational vehicles, like bonuses. Boat sales from 2007 to 2010 also dropped 55%. So if you're someone paying attention to what's going on out there in the world around you, and you start to see these things happening, it might be something to clue into. Now again, we're talking about how this one may be different. RVs have changed a little bit. The way that the consumer uses an RV is different now because of what we saw through the COVID downturn of 2020. So perhaps there's unique things going on in that marketplace that may affect that. You just have to understand that going in. But when you start seeing these things show up on the side of the road, you start to see advertisements in your Facebook feed, you start to see the buy-sell trades, that's an immediate sign for you to think, oh, maybe there's something unique, something different going on.
The next canary we talk about on recessions is vehicles. Now, look, this could be some relief for any of you who are struggling to buy that next used car, even new cars. Inventories have been a big problem. Supply chain, it's had a big ripple effect. I will tell you, historically, it's not uncommon, especially when we hit recessions, you will see car prices actually drop. And I'll go back 2009, car prices actually went down 12%. Now, I know supply chains have been an issue, inflation has been an issue, but I can tell you anecdotally, we have an advisor here who has a daughter who just turned 16.
Yep.
And this morning while I was making my coffee, he was telling that they actually were very surprised when they were doing the same thing I do with my daughter where she's paying half and he's paying half. They found a 2004 Honda Accord that they were able to get for. And he was like, man, I was surprised because I knew it was going to be an uphill battle, but we fell into this. I think more people are going to have opportunities to get into vehicles in a more reasonable historical context like we've had in the past on the way vehicle purchases work.
That's right. And look, again, don't miss here. So we understand things are unique. Things are interesting in the used car and new car marketplace, but this is something to keep an eye on. You know, one of the pieces of advice, we had Clark Howard on the show a number of weeks ago, and he gave this great advice. He said, hey, if you don't have to replace your car right now, maybe don't replace it. There is likely a chance that there could be better buying opportunities, both across the used car marketplace as well as the new car marketplace, as some of these supply chain issues level out. As we see those level out, and if we enter into sort of a recessionary, stay in a recessionary time, I wouldn't be surprised to see the prices on those things start to drop. Again, it's another key indicator and a thing that a financial mutant would want to keep their eye on.
The third one, vacation properties. This is one, you know, we all hear how real estate is unique right now. It's ran up rapidly. Well, one place that we usually overbuild is in vacation property. People get way out over their skis. They take on way too much. And it's not uncommon. I can tell you from the vacation home sales dropped 31% previously, like 2007 to 2008. I wouldn't be surprised because I know a lot of people were taking advantage of those super low rates historically, or they were overextending. Pay attention to what's going on vacation properties. This is one of those conversations I have with my wife. She'd love for us to have a place in Florida. I keep saying, hey, if there's any place that is probably building those condos that are, sky high and more people as a percentage of the houses of the total economy, it's the state of Florida has a lot of secondary homes in it because we all know the snowbirds as well as all the people that have migrated there. I just see a lot of opportunity potentially for even housing prices to adjust if we hit this recession.
So as we see the prices of some of these discretionary items potentially go down, that's a sign of recessionary things going on. Here's another thing that's a little bit less anecdotal. You begin to start seeing mass layoff announcements. You begin to start seeing reductions in force. We had Daniel go pull some headlines. We're already seeing a little bit of this. Here's one that says, Elon Musk wants to cut 10% of Tesla jobs. Or Netflix braces for more layoffs this week. That was as of June. Robinhood to lay off 9% of its FTEs. Or Peloton is now replacing its CEO and cutting 2,800 jobs. As you continue to see these layoff announcements, that's again a sign that maybe we're entering into some turbulent, uncomfortable, recessionary-esque territory. We've also seen some of this anecdotally. We have a close friend of the firm who works in employee benefits with large employers. So think like hospital systems, school systems, and large private enterprise. And he said, hey, one of the things they're talking about from a health benefit is, hey, if we do start having some large reductions in force, how do we plan for that? How do we go into that? So as you begin to see these things happen, it's just another indicator that perhaps we are in recession, or perhaps this is one of the things that caused this recession to likely feel different than the previous, if we use 2020 as an example, than the previous COVID downturn that we saw.
Well, also because I hate to admit this or share this, but you all know it because we talk about peer pressure. Mm-hmm. Why is peer pressure? It's because we're herd animals.
Yep,
I mean,
absolutely.
we are humans by our nature, are pack animals, herd animals, whatever you want to say. And if you need proof of this, I love, and we're refining this element, and I can't wait to keep as we refine this data point. I love to compare cash levels compared to where the S&P 500 is, because we would think, going back to that cycle of market emotions and then trying to figure out where's the maximum financial opportunity to buy low, sell high, go in when everybody else is scared. Notice historically, Daniel created this slide, like you look at 2002, when the market is getting crushed and it's a peak financial opportunity to be getting some of the best deals out there, we see cash levels spike up.
All-time highs, yeah.
You go to fast forward to the Great Recession of 2008 and 2009, when markets have fallen off the cliff and everybody, and you're like, whoa, this is when you can buy Apple, which is $70 of cash per share, and it's trading at $107 per share. They have no debt. They have all these buildings. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. Nope. People are loading up on the cash.
Yep.
That's what you'll see this. Now, here's the unfortunate thing. This data only goes through 2020.
That's
that
right.
we could actually compare it to. But I can tell you right now, I get the feeling that there's definitely a portion of the population, not my financial mutants, who are trying to figure out how they get more cash on the sidelines, and that is probably an indicator of that, hey, maybe this thing is going to be a better opportunity for us.
I think it's really, really interesting. We talk about that cycle of market emotions, and when capitulation grabs hold and you say, I'm done with this, I can't do it anymore, I got to get some safety, I got to go to the sidelines. We saw that capitulation take place during the dot-com bubble bursting, and we saw capitulation take place during the Great Recession. The two other big downturns we've seen since then, 2018 and 2020, were so rapid and so fast, a lot of investors were not truly tested through that. So you have to begin developing, do I have the mental resolve that when everyone else is running for the exits, everyone else is hitting that capitulation point, do I understand the way that market cycles work? And am I not going to be one of those statistics that's getting out at the absolute best time to be buying and exacerbating the problem, or am I going to be a financial mutant that truly recognizes the opportunity I can go take advantage of?
Now, Bo, because I know we have a very analytical audience, and you're a CFA, which is something to be celebrated. If you were using an indicator like price earnings ratio, you hear people talk about price earnings ratio. How do you use price earnings ratio to figure out where we are in this economic cycle too?
Again, I in my opinion, I think too many people die on the hill of price to earnings ratio as the end all be all to valuation. I don't think that that's accurate. I think that can get you into a lot of problems, but I do think it's a helpful thing to look at. And what you want to look at is the average price to earnings ratio over a long period of time. You can kind of pick the periods you want to look at, but look at it over a long period of time. And when the market is trading above the average long-term price earnings ratio, you can begin to say things like, okay, maybe the market is fairly valued or perhaps it's a little frothy. If you start to see the price to earnings trading below the long-term average, that might be an indicator, I wonder if things are undervalued. I wonder if this might be an opportunity for me to get dollars to work at really, really favorable valuations. Again, it's not an end-all be-all, but it is something to keep an eye on to think, man, if everyone else is running for the exits and everyone else is scared, can I look at some unique fundamental data and say, man, maybe there is more opportunity present right now than other people recognize? And it's the financial mutants that recognize that in the scary times that are really able to take advantage of it over the long term.
Yeah, and kind of just to add on that, I think what I use is it ties into this price earnings is when we also cross that bear market. When the market is down 20%, that's its own indicator.
That's exactly
and then
right.
I can tell you, here's something that's unique about price to earnings is that one of the things, the second part of that is price, and then there's earnings is the second part. I want you to pay attention to if we are headed towards a recession or in a recession, that kind of remains to be seen. Pay attention to headlines from corporations on what they're doing with their earnings, because that does have a direct impact on where we are in this cycle.